So in the last two examples, we looked at two main examples, or in the last two videos, we looked at two main examples. Number one, we looked at probabilities for the lower tail. So whenever we're shading to the left, or whenever we have a less than problem. The second type of example, between probabilities. So whenever you're looking for the area between two data values, how to find that. So now we're going to look at one final example related to finding probabilities. So we're going to looking at upper tail probabilities. So whenever we're looking at a value or greater than, or we're shading to the right. So I want to mention this very important note. Again, I've mentioned it a few times already, but I want to emphasize that the table only gives the area below a given value or below a given z-score. To find an upper tail probability, you have to take the complement. So looking at example 5 right here, we're using the same data, so still talking about the seal pup. We know that the mean is 29.5, standard deviation is 1.2. But what we want to do is find the probability that a randomly selected seal pup is bigger than 31 inches. So I've already completed step 1. I drew, labeled, and shaded my curve. I'm shading to the right because we're looking for the probability that a seal pup is greater than 31 inches. Actually, that is a typo. Let me actually change it very quickly here. It should not be 31, it should be 30. So we're looking for the probability that it is greater than 30 or bigger than 30. Okay. So the graph was labeled correctly. So this part right here is going to represent 30. Okay. So moving on to step 2. Step 2 is going to be very similar to the lower tail probabilities. So here, step 2 is making that z-score transformation. So here our x is 30, mean is 29.5, sigma is 1.2. So z is x minus mu all over sigma, which is 30 minus 29.5 all over 1.2, which is going to give us 0.42, which we actually solved for in the last example. So with a z-score of 0.42, so step 3, when z is equal to 0.42, our area is going to be equal to 0.66276 or 0.6628. So let me just double check that very quickly with my table. So z-score of 0.42, yep, is 0.6628. So now that we have our area, it doesn't end right there. So again, I want to mention again that the table only gives area below a certain value. To find the upper tail probability, we have to take the complement. So, but since this is an upper tail problem, then we have to take complement. And we know from chapter 5 how to take the complement. So the complement is just 1 minus the probability or the area. So 1 minus 0.6628, that's going to give us a value of 0.3372. So now that is our final area. So step 4, making the conclusion. The probability that a randomly selected seal pup I'm just going to put dot dot dots, or actually not mind, a randomly selected seal pup is bigger than 30 inches is 33.72%. So to very quickly recap what we did, so here we're looking at an upper tail probability. We know that it's an upper tail probability if we're shading to the right. Step 2 is just finding the z-score like we normally do. But step 3 is where it gets a little trickier. We need to take the complement. And as I have mentioned several times, we need to take the complement because the table only gives us the probability below. So 0.6628 is only the area from 0.42 to the left. We need to take the complement in order to find the area to the right. And then step 4, making the conclusion as we have done before.